to Rules of the Pit. Tonight's guest is no stranger to hard-hitting punk rock and a member of the SoCal band Good Riddance.
No, we're not from SoCal, NorCal.
Well, we'll just go with California band.
God.
You already fucked it up, Johnny, man. Oh, shit. Don't leave us, Chuck. Don't leave us.
Well, Mr. Chuck Pleasant, Animal on the bass, and apparently indestructible. Chuck, I'm glad to be able to say welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Chuck. I guess I'll get us kicked off here real quick. I always ask this of like all of our guests, being a comic book fan, stuff like that. I like a good origin story. And since we're all like in the spirit of punk rock, what's your punk rock origin story, man?
Well, where I started in punk rock?
Mm-hmm. Where'd you start and that got you from point A to point B or the present time?
Point A was a complete mess. I played in several punk bands down in Southern California. And that really went nowhere. In the summer of '93, I moved up to Santa Cruz just because I was sick of where I was living. And I worked at Kinko's. Do you guys remember Kinko's?
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing.
We made a lot of flyers at Kinko's.
Yeah, I was the guy behind the counter when anyone would come in to make punk flyers. I would just give them to you for free. Oh, what's going on? I'm like, it's all good. Just go. Luke, the guitar player of Good Riddance, came in to make a flyer for a bass player wanted. And I had just moved there and I was like, I know how to play the bass, which I sort of knew how to play the bass back then, and ended up, he went home, brought me back a cassette tape. I took it home and checked it out. And I'm like, these guys are pretty cool. It's the Good Riddance demos. And they showed me some songs and that was that. Like 4 months later, I quit Kinko's and toured the world for years.
Shit.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Transition. Yeah, a little bit.
You just kind of fell into it, really.
I did, totally.
Nice.
Yeah. And you know, seriously, the bass, the band back then could have probably just gotten a way better bassist than I was at the time. But I think it was just like the place. I was already in Santa Cruz. I was available anytime. I was willing to tour, and we just did it. A lot of practice, and we got signed to Fat Records, and everything's good.
It's funny to say that. I was going to say there had to be some chemistry too, but I mean, you guys are pretty much ridden the Fat train most of the way. What's the experience like working with Fat?
Oh, they're great. Amazing. You know, when we first got on the label, it was really small. I think it was just Mike and Aaron and who else? I would think Melanie as well, and a couple people working out of Mike's house. Like when we got on the label, I believe they were just moving into their first like office space. So we would record, we would go over to the office, and that was that. Yeah.
So you were one of the ground floor bands then?
Really? Yeah. I want to say the fourth or fifth band on Fat Records.
Wow.
Was it like Propaganda and Lagwagon, you guys, and with No Use?
Yeah, I want to say maybe us and maybe Strung Out got signed a little bit before us as well.
Okay, that yeah.
And maybe I don't know when that Face to Face record came out. Maybe that was later. It's all sort of a blur, you know, like we were really stoked at the time. I think Tilt were on there, but a little bit later. Like it all happened really fast, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like it seems like a year after we got signed or so or whatever, we were on tour on our first European tour with No Use.
Wow, that quick.
For a while. Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I look back, I get those old Fat samplers, like one of the first ones, Fat Music for Fat People, and just look at flip that over. Look at that list of band names, and that's like a murderer's row of like 90s punk rock.
Yeah.
You guys were on there, right?
Yeah.
That was not a sampler, okay?
It was a comp.
That was a full-on like kick you in the fucking nuts comp. That's what that was.
It
Yeah.
melted my face off, Trev.
that-
Okay. I know.
Dude, all those fat comps, honestly, I'm a huge fat lover. They were like my gateway. Every one of those. I
They were
listened
lifeblood,
to
dude.
Good Riddance, Propaganda, fucking Wizzo, fucking Friends of Rom, till
Snuff, Guns and
fucking
Wankers.
yes, everyone who was on there
Yeah. You
Had
know,
my
it's-
survival shirt on.
before-
became one of my favorites because I ended up following you guys.
Before that, though, for myself, I didn't know a lot of those bands. I hadn't personally, I had no clue. And what I ended up really liking, I fucking love Guns and Wankers a lot.
Yes.
I don't know if they were on that first one, but I remember liking the Bracket song a lot as well.
Mhm.
Bracket is awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Underrated.
But
yeah.
Duncan is like he's a
Yeah.
different level. He's a different dude. Like
he's a good guy.
Oh, I would love to talk to Duncan. Like just to hear his accent, like explaining a little bit of where he came from. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yes, Duncan is awesome. Guns and Wankers, Snuff.
What was Chuck's first punk rock show?
My first show was this band called Aggression. You guys know them?
I've heard that
They're
name.
from Oxnard. My first show, I went to a place called Fenders in Long Beach, and it seemed like Aggression was always playing them, but it was like Aggression, DI, probably 4 other bands at the time, and after that, I was fucking hooked. Yeah, it was really good. Like my parents hated it because I would come home with fat lips and black eyes and maybe a loose tooth, you know.
And a smile on your face.
Yeah. And my mom, I'll never forget my mom waking me up.
You're
one
getting
morning to
in
go to school.
fights.
Yeah, she's like, why are you doing this to yourself? And I'm like, I'm not doing anything to myself. I just love to go to fucking shows. I love it. So yeah, it was good. And then, maybe like a couple years after that, when she finally, accepted that I was going to continue to go no matter what they told me to do. My parents owned an equipment rental company downtown Long Beach. And the guy that owned Fenders, John Fender, used to come into my mom and dad's place every Friday afternoon to rent a Roto-Rooter snake to unplug the toilets. And she figured out that this was the place I was going. So my mom was so rad, she called me Chucky back then. They still call me Chucky. She's like, oh, I think my son goes to your place for shows. And he's like, oh, cool. Yeah, tell him to come around the back door and I'll just let him in for free. And she's like, all right, I'll do a deal. I'll give you the snake, the Roto-Rooter, every weekend for free, and you just make sure that Chucky gets into the shows. So I was there every fucking weekend. I saw band. I would go there even if I didn't know the bands. I would still go there just to see the bands.
That's killer.
Pretty
That's
rad.
so awesome.
So I saw a lot of bands that I had no idea about, no clue, that just blew my mind. One of those bands being Bad Brains.
Nice.
Yeah. I had no idea who they were. I went to see the Crumb Suckers because at the time I was really into like crossover, and so I went to see the Crumb Suckers, and Bad Brains were playing after the Crumb Suckers.
Oh wow!
And they came on, and I was gonna leave, and my friend's like, "Dude, you gotta stay." And I was like, all right. And like, after the first song, I was hooked. That was great show for me.
I've seen you in a rudimentary Peni shirt, and I find that unusual because I don't see a lot of people that get into that brand. So was that style? When did you find that style?
Well, there in Long Beach, there was this place called Zed Records. This is in 84 or so. I would go to Zed Records, and there was this really cool, everyone that worked there was super cool. There's one guy, I remember a couple of the guys just asking me like, one was Big Frank, and he was just like, what kind of music you into? And I would be like, I like fast punk. And that was it, you know. He turned me on to some bands like Battalion of Saints. When I first got, actually Good Riddance does not My Mind's Disease. We do Second Coming on the Operation Phoenix record, I think. But I remember taking that 7-inch home and putting it on 45. And I was like, well, this is fucking way too fast. Like this isn't right. So I put it on 33. And it was just like, brr, brr, brr. I was like, no way. Like, so ever since then, he just knew I liked fast, sort of just weird music. And I went in there and he sold me the first Peni 7-inch. Nice. And I took it home and I was like, fuck, I love Peni. Always have.
That's great. So I got some of his artwork.
Yeah.
Because it's just some crazy shit, you know. It's
yeah.
So when I meet somebody who even wears the shirt, I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah. We played Rebellion Fest, that big festival in England, Blackpool, England, I think. Maybe like 4 years ago, I think. And it's just like fucking just so many vendors. Oh, Brady's late. Let's give Brady a hard time.
Yeah.
So I was walking by this one vendor. Brady, you're fired, dude.
All right, hold on.
Brady's at work.
We're gonna just jump right into this shit. All right, so
listen, I was just walking around. I was walking around and I saw one of the vendors had a Peni shirt. Just going back, that one that I've never seen before, and I'm like, oh, I'm fucking buying that. What's up, Brady? What are you doing?
Dude, I'm getting a minute off the line. Come say hi to you, Chuck. What's up, buddy?
I like your beard.
It's glorious. Dude,
I wish I could.
What's even better than my beard? My chef coat.
Yeah, he's a resident chef, actually.
Yes.
Whoa.
So I'm going to just interrupt shit like a big ball buster here, and I'm going to jump right in with my questions to you. So, hey, I love you guys, but fuck you, it's my turn. So, punk rock restaurant owner. How do you put this together? How does this work out in your life?
What?
Punk rock and restaurant ownership.
Oh my gosh.
You weren't ready for that one.
Well, I was working. So let me see how to make a long story short. Punk rock, it paid the bills. I paid my rent, you know what I mean? But I always back, in the late, 90s, early 2000s, you start to think, how long is this going to last? Right? You start to get older and you're like, fuck, I need that, like maybe a fallback plan if shit doesn't pan out, to where one day it's just like done. And I have a bunch of friends here in Santa Cruz that worked at this bicycle helmet company called Giro Sport Design. And it was also part of Bell Helmets. So through that, I knew all those guys, and they had a position open called the sports marketing coordinator, and I knew nothing about it. I had no experience, nothing. And they're like, you would do great. And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, you pretty much just take care of the athletes, get them what they need, go to events, hang out with them. And I'm like, oh, I can fucking do that. So I already knew from the early Warped Tour days, I had met some of those like BMX guys and skaters and stuff. Rune Glifberg, Rick Thorne, Mira, that's like a lot of like BMXers. And they all loved Bell Helmets. So long story short, getting to the restaurant. After 20 years of that, I did that for 20 years. I was fucking over it. And I've always wanted to either own a bar here in Santa Cruz or a small, like little breakfast spot. Because, you tour the world. One of my favorite things to do is, if you have time, is to go to like, I'll get on like the internet or even before the internet and be like, where's the best? I love breakfast spots. I'm like, where's the best breakfast spot? Yeah. Like, you got to go. What? and so my wife is a CPA, which is a accountant, and she was doing the books for this place here in Santa Cruz called the Crate Place. and that has shows. It's a fucking rad bar, pretty big restaurant that seats probably 80 people or so, like way bigger than I ever expected. And she came home. I had a really bad day at the office, and she came home and she's like, hey, she talked to the owners and they're thinking about selling the spot. And I was like, and she's like, we should like talk to them. I was like, all right. So we talked to them. We tried to get a bank loan. Wasn't possible. They're like, first time restaurant owner. Hell no. So we ended up talking with the two owners and worked it out to where we got a lawyer and we just paid them direct and did the deal direct with the owners, and it's going great. I love it. It's a little, there's a lot of challenging things to it, but
Absolutely.
overall, when I'm there and things are really good, it's a good time. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah. That's what
Everything's going good. Just don't walk out the front door.
our parking lot is right across the street. And it's one of those things where, I shouldn't have, but 95% of the people end up crossing where I was crossing. Slow traffic, completely stopped traffic going to the right. I walked in front of a FedEx truck, waved bye to the FedEx driver, looked to my right to see if there were any cars, and there were no cars. And right when I looked to my right, I took one step into the double yellow lane, and it happened so quick. Bam!
Shit.
Yeah.
Nuts,
Yeah, it was
nuts, something like
scary,
that.
pretty scary. But like, when it happened, I got knocked out at first, but I don't know how long I was out. I don't think a long time, because I still remember people coming out of the building like, oh shit,
Right.
so I don't think it was a long time. And I was holding my head. I got a little cut above my head, and
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I got fucking hit. Like I was like just myself automatically. And then I ended up like looking down. They're like, Chuck, don't move. I'm like, I'm not going to move. I sort of propped myself up a little bit, and I looked back, and my foot was just backwards.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's shitty. So
You probably didn't even really feel anything at that point.
I didn't, and everyone that showed up, when the fire department showed up, the fire department is the next block down, and they always come to the great place to get like salads and stuff. They all knew who I was. So like, Chuck, everything's going to be fine, blah, 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 blah. Telling me everything that was happening. I think your knee's a little messed up. Your ankle's totally fucked is exactly what they said. And I was like, all right. And they're like, we want to airlift you to, because Santa Cruz is pretty small, but for a trauma center over in Santa Clara, which is over the hill in San Jose area. And I was like, all right, just do whatever you guys got to do. And like, yeah, everything's fine. You still have a pulse in your foot, which is good. They were amazed by that. And I was like, let's go.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Good thing you weren't the drummer.
I know. I
I
know.
That's pretty insane that they
Yes.
just that quick something can change.
Yeah.
The drummer from Def Leppard only had one arm.
Oh, come on, Chef.
now
Come
we-
on. well, I'm gonna say thank shit that you're okay.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Thank you.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
glad to
I
have you.
still think about it. Like it hits me once a week where I'm just like, fuck, I'm just glad to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So look, I'm gonna kind of pull us back into Good Riddance here. When you guys were finally signed and supported, that was back in what, 94, 95 with
Yeah.
Fat Records?
Yeah. I believe 94, 95, somewhere around there.
You feel like when that happened, did you feel like you arrived, or did you feel that it was
No.
like the work just got started?
No, I had no idea.
Mm.
I didn't know any of these bands. Like I grew up listening to just different bands than that. I had no idea. I had heard of No Use. I never heard of Lagwagon. I heard of No Effects, of course, because they played LA a bunch of times of shows I went to. But I never heard of any of the other bands on the label. I thought we were just, and I knew Mike owned the label, but I didn't know the size of it.
Mhm.
They were like, this is going to be great. Like I think Russ and Luke really knew what that meant back then,
Mm.
but I didn't. until, you know, we're in Europe and Forgotten Country comes out and people are like singing the words. And I'm just like, fuck, this is rad.
No
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, what country would you say was the most fun that you got to play?
Back then,
Or anytime?
they were all fun back then. Yeah, I have to put it equal. You know, the further, you know, that tour was sort of fucked up because everyone ended up getting sick on the bus. I want to say the only people that didn't get sick were me, Russ, and Tony Sly, and that was it. Everybody else was like, we had to cancel a couple shows, and we ended up calling the tour off early because people were sick in beds, and we just saw, like, you know, we were all on a bus, and like that wasn't cheap for us at the time, and we were just like, we just pulled the plug after like 2 or 3 days. It didn't seem like people were like going to get better to be able to play, so we're like, we should just call it. So I don't even remember how many shows we played back then. I remember, you know, like maybe 10 or something like that. It got cut pretty short. And then the next time we went to Europe was with Tilt. And that was a very long tour. That was like 7 weeks. But the fun spots, Europe is just fun, you know, playing shows everywhere is fun, but like, you know, the first time somewhere is always the best, right?
Yeah.
Your show in Milan and people are going crazy and you're like, fuck yeah, I love Milan, you know?
And then you play Berlin, like, fuck yeah, I love Berlin.
Yeah, exactly. There's not one place where I ever go anymore. You know, back in the day when we were getting in vans and doing full US tours and you would play some random little town, and you're just like, it was still sort of cool. They had their own scene and it was cool. Yeah. I can't say
Every time I hear somebody talk about a Europe tour, I always imagine, like, if I were in that position, that I would try to measure it up to European Vacation.
Yeah.
Like, this is nothing like the movie. What the fuck's going on over here?
Chef would be too drunk to even remember the trip. So that's all right.
Fair point.
So Chuck, I'm gonna take you a little bit sideways. Just talk about the music itself. And are you a strong contributor with the melodies and shit?
No.
No.
A lot of times, you know, like sometimes, no, that's all Russ. You know, there's times where, no, it's all Russ. You know, I do good at yelling. You know, yelling my parts.
Dude, that works into it all.
Trust
me, I know.
I wouldn't say yelling as a melody, but I'm a good yeller, and sometimes I can do it in key. But you know, I you know, who's going to the blasting room and recording with Bill Stevenson, and he's a fucking amazing singer.
Yeah.
And you know, right, we all have learned so much from those guys. Even on the past couple records, what, you know, because me doing harmonies, I never even knew how to do that. A lot of times I would just like hear what Russ was doing and sort of just go and do it and like almost have the same tone. So I'm just like doubling
a little
voice,
flat, you know? Maybe just to hang there.
Yeah. But you know, those kids, Bill has made me like some reference CDs that I would play in my car that has everything low, but except for my parts, so I can learn what I'm singing away from Russ. So it's like the first time where I was like, I'd go to practice and I would listen to it over and over in the car, and I'd be like, hey, let's play this song. And I'd go and do it. And after the song was over, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, you got it. So I have just seriously, I can honestly say after 25 years, 26, I have just recently figured out how to do that.
dude, that's awesome. And
But
that's
also,
awesome.
I'll
That's
yell my
awesome
ass
that
off.
you're sharing that with us, because like, anybody who listens to those albums, we don't know that, right? So
Yeah.
finding that out.
You know, some of them.
You heard it here on Rules of the
That's
Pit.
right. Inside
now.
baseball with Chuck
Some
Platt.
of them I have done, you know, back before, like if it was like just a part by myself and it was like an ooh and ah, most of those I have done. They've just like sort of like show me what to do. Like I'm going for something like this.
Yeah.
And I would just do it and they'd be like little flat. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Go a little higher. Okay. And I would just keep trying. And then they would be like, that's it. And then once I would nail it, like I could just do it over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not really a singer. I yell, dude. I'm a yeller.
That's all good, brother. That's all good.
I'm with you, Chuck. I'm no singer by any stretch of the imagination either.
See, that's what I did when I was in a band. I was the notorious idiot that would just run around and act the muck, you know. So
Yeah.
And I never stepped into a band, but I can't play an instrument to save my ass. So if I didn't have any vocal talent, I wouldn't be doing anything. How much of that either. So I don't do much of anything either. So who knows?
yeah, real quick.
So Chuck, recently I saw pictures and videos going back to, you know, your accident. You were on stage just rocking the fuck out on a fucking wheelchair. Like,
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
That was
yeah,
pretty rad.
You looked like you were having fun.
Yeah, it was a little bit different sitting down low for like the monitors and stuff. It seemed like Sean's snare drum was just fucking piercing my ear. Like it seemed so much louder than normal. Little bit of a bummer not to be able to see the crowd, you know?
Yeah.
But just to be able to, you know, that's right when I started to be able to stand up. I couldn't stand up. I was in bed for 2 months.
Oof.
So I could get a crutch, or my wife and son were there with me, and I'd grab Charlie's arm and I would be able to push myself up and I could stand up for like a minute. And that was like huge. So just to be at a show, see people I haven't, you know, all those Pennywise guys, Authority Zero played as well. Chaser guys played.
Yeah.
I think that was it. And just to see people, and it was my first time out. And I flew down there. My doctor's like, yeah, go ahead and fly. I wore compression socks and shit. I feel like like a really old person, but you know, took my wheelchair. People are like, you're fucking crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm going to play the show. I have to play the show.
This is my fucking band, man.
So I just did it, you know, like we had some rehearsals here in Santa Cruz with the band, and that went pretty good. And, you know, rehearsal is always different when you play live. You just get, like, for myself, still to this day, like once we start, and if the crowd is like into it, there's a certain energy that you get, and you're just like,
oh yeah, you
forget
everything.
So that was it. You know, I sat down at practice. I figured out that I need to raise my bass strap because otherwise my bass kept sliding. So I pulled the bass strap as tight as possible and sort of playing it up here. And I had my leg brace on, and I had, I don't think I had anything on my ankle, but I found this position where I can sit at the edge of the chair, and I locked it and I sort of kicked one leg out and let my bass hang. And I'm like, this is it right here. I fucking got it. And yeah, I just played the show. It was super fun. Yeah, it was good.
Gotta play the fucking show, man.
Yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to these shows coming up in May.
Oh,
and it's going to be, I'll be standing up. You know what I mean? We've had several rehearsals already where I'm standing up, and you know, I look at Sean and be like, I'm going to try to move around a little bit on this one, and you know, and feel it out. And I'm still like, I don't have all my balance, but I can just fucking, like, it's going to be a good time. I can't wait. Yeah.
I'm stoked you're out there doing it again. Like,
yeah, it's going to be good.
Keep kicking ass. Take care of yourself, though. Of course.
Thank you.
Like, you know, as best you can. Pour some beer on that shit.
Time you do that paper thing, Trevor, I keep seeing news reporter in my head. Like,
Right?
and
right.
another news.
I'm a fucking news reporter up here in fucking Ontario, Canada, motherfuckers, and fucking listen to me. God damn it.
This is cool though. I thought it was going to be way different. You know, like I read the like rules from the pit, and I was like, okay, they're going to talk about like stage diving and slamming.
We can talk about whatever you want.
We
'Cause
can't.
do you say slamming? Because if you say moshing, you're I don't. You
Sorry.
Slam guys is where that started. The
Moshing is for metalheads, right?
Yeah.
Metalheads mosh. Punks
Punkers slam.
just dance.
Or dance.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, I'm up here in Canada, okay? I'm deprived of the proper knowledge, okay? Like I'm just gonna hang on that shit, okay?
We'll all write
That was
letters
the
to
top-
Trudeau and see if we
I'm
can
sure.
get
I'm
Google
sure that.
in
I'm sure that
Canada.
SNFU didn't say moshing. They said slamming.
It's true. It's
I
true.
don't know.
God damn it, I just got called out by Chuck Platt. I love you, sir.
Well, coming back around, like you guys, I guess you took a little hiatus there in 2007, and then came back around in 2012. What caused you to restart?
Well, we probably should have never said that it was our last show. We probably just should have done it and just taken a hiatus. So we just did that, and you know, everyone was sort of like, we all started to have young kids and stuff, and like life just got like way more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's doing their own deal, and it just happened. You know, we probably shouldn't have said that, but in 2012, you know, Luke and I would talk a lot, and we would just be like, fuck man, I want to play a show so bad. You know, you do your side projects and all of this, but it's not the same at all. And we went to a NoFX show here in Santa Cruz, and went and talked with Mike, and you know, and it's like, what's up? And I'm like, fuck man, we want to fucking play shows, but we don't know if Russ is going to be into it. And I don't know if Mike ended up calling Russ or texting him or whatever, but like we you know, 3 or 4 days later, it's like sent a text like, hey, you guys want to meet up and talk? And I was like, fuck yeah. So we ended up meeting up, and we sort of talked, and we worried a lot about what people are going to think of us doing it. Like, did they get offered a shitload of money at a show or what? You know what I mean? Like, fucking not even close. Had nothing to do with that.
This is punk rock people.
just wanted to play together, wanted to play those songs and have people sing, and like they're passionate songs, you know, that we all believe in very strongly. So it's like to play a song and you're just like, fuck yeah, and the people are responding. That's it. That's what we missed. Yeah. And being with each other, we have a good time on tour.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I could see, like, just you talking about that right now, Chuck. I could see the passion in your eyes, like, because I know it happened, but you're like reliving that, and like, yeah, you know, like, and just getting back with the guys and playing, and like, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever had that happen with like a band that you saw, like, just totally surprised you, like, whoa?
Oh, it would be a band. It would be bands that you guys have probably never heard of. Not punk rock bands.
I'm all
There's a band that one of my good friends, Eli, who's actually done almost every Good Riddance album cover. He listens to all different kinds of music, and us hanging out, you know, like I would go to shows with him, and there's this band called Enon, E-N-O-N, which is none backwards, sort of like God, I don't even know what kind of music it is. It's a guy with like a little keyboard thing, and he's got a guitar, and he makes all these noises. And have you ever heard of a band called Blonde Redhead?
Mm-mm.
this girl bass player, and the drummer fucking just shreds. They're so good. Like if you go and listen to them, you're like, oh, Chuck's crazy. He likes this shit. But if you see them live, holy shit, they're so good. But there's been a lot of shows that I've been to that I've never heard of the bands. Like all would be one of them. Back in the day when all were playing all the shows, I wasn't really into that style of music. I was more into like English punk rock and like fast fucking gnarly bands. And you know, as I grew up a little bit and started to understand a little bit more, Eli took me to an all show at Berkeley Square, and probably I think it was right when Pummel came out and Chad was singing. I was like, fucking these guys shred so hard. So that would have been one of them as well. Now I love that band.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, I'm part of the California. I've always been part of the California surf skate, you know, SoCal for me, but the California surf skate. And it's curious to me, you talked about being around in the action sports with the BMX guys, Mira and all them. Any of you guys actually surf and skate? I mean, right now, not in a wheelchair, but are any of you guys avid skaters or?
Well, back, I'm not a good skateboarder at all. I can roll around at the park. I can't do any tricks at all. I can go probably, if you put me in a pool, I could go probably halfway up and turn. Luke, absolutely not. Sean, I think the same thing. It's like, you know, when we first met him, Sean was only 20 years old when he got in the band. So like we'd go to Europe and, you know, some people, there'd be a skateboard around and Sean would do like a kickflip. And I'll be like, you little shit, you know, and he was good. And then, you know, Russ is a different deal. Russ fucking rips on a skateboard. Russ is really, really good. He won't say he is, but he's fucking really good. Yeah. I
would not have put that together about Russ because he doesn't strike me as that like skate guy.
Same thing. Surfing Russ. I don't think I've ever seen Russ surf, but he's I know he goes quite a bit. Here in Santa Cruz, my buddy Eli, who I was telling you about, used to be a pro surfer when he was younger. And he's taken me out a couple times, but I fucking hate I don't like the cold water. And then I'll see like a fucking sea otter pop up in front of me and I'm like, fuck this. And I'm like, you know what I mean?
I'm
you're
there.
not top of the food chain when you're in the ocean.
I don't like shit touching my feet and stuff. You know, it'll be a little seaweed and I'm like, oh God.
I would be the same way. I'd see that sea otter or whatever, and I'd be like, son of a bitch, there's a shark. I'm fucking out of here, man.
Yeah, no, Eli still, you know, he surfs still to this day and was just like sitting up and he was like, yeah, there's a fucking shark, you know, 30 feet from in between him and the beach and saw it go by. And it's like, you know, you just paddle in and you're done for the day.
Like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So it is. It literally is. I mean, I've been out there in situations where you go, oh, I probably shouldn't be out here right now. And you just turn around and paddle back in calmly. Because if you freak out, you're just gonna get fucking chomped. So you just turn around and go back in.
So I would say Russ kicks all of our ass in surfing and skating.
Yeah.
Being in Florida, I'm surrounded by water. Have no interest whatsoever in the beach, don't care about the ocean. I'll help protect it.
Yeah.
Fuck everything that's in it because it wants to eat me.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, that's where I find the symbiosis because there's pretty much everything in the ocean. I want to eat it too.
Yeah.
So now it becomes a battle of wills. And I have more culinary training than the shark does. So now we have a TV show.
You'll just pull a knife out of your wetsuit and be like, hiya!
Chef versus Shark, Fridays on Discovery.
So, Chuck, normally when we do our episodes, we've got a fan question that we like to play for our guest. And tonight we've got a fan question coming from...
Hi, Chuck. Andrew Torgerson from the Epithats in Ontario, Canada. I was just curious to know if your live rig has changed over the years in terms of touring bass, the amps you're using on stage, or if you're using a DI. Thanks.
So it hasn't changed a lot. I prefer, you know, I tried out an orange head, and I used it for a little while, and I figured out that there was something, just like I kept going back to the Ampeg SVT head that I use, and it just sort of suits my style a little bit more. I end up using a Sans amp with that as well, and it's just dialing that low, you know, that low mix from the Sans amp in with what the head gives me, and then just like the big Ampeg fridge cabinet that's just fucking so loud. But you know, I've always used the Ampeg and Sans amp. I learned the Sans amp from the Sick of It All guys. Craig, who plays in Sick of It All, I think we did a tour with them in Australia in the late 90s, and I saw it, and I'm like, man, how do you get your bass to sound like that? And he showed me, and I went and bought one, and I've never went back. Same thing is with those ESP basses that I use. We did a tour in Japan with High Standard in, I want to say
Nice.
the mid to late, you know, like 98 or something like that, I think. And they were huge in Japan at the time. And the ESP guy was our guitar tech, which I had never had a guitar. I thought it was funny because I'd never had a guitar tech in my entire life. But when we were done with the tour, he like let me play the ESP bass. Churchy Bell. Churchy's like, fuck this. I would play the bass, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. And then they're so nice at the end of the tour. They're like, it's a gift. You can have it. I was like, what? I felt bad. I'm like, no, I don't want to take your bass. They're like, no, I work for the company. Take it. And I'm like, okay. I took it, and I think at the time someone else reached out and they're like, hey, let us know if you need a backup. And I was like, okay.
Sure.
So since then, I've been playing ESP basses. I finally got linked up with the people here in LA, and yeah, I just tell them what I like, and they understand the sound that I'm going for, and they just send me what I need. It's pretty cool.
I wish they did that with my fucking guitars or my strings.
Yeah.
Just give me strings. I don't fucking care.
But we don't get free strings. You know, a lot of the bands, you get endorsed, but you're still paying for stuff, you know. There might be like one or two bands that like they know that they're gonna get like a lot of exposure from, but we just pay for our strings. I think we get a little bit of a discount, but that's it.
So in your 27 years with Good Riddance, what has that time taught you about the independent music industry? Go ahead.
I feel an amazing sound clip coming right now.
I'll tell you this: that Fat, you know, Fat Mike, Aaron, everyone at Fat, they're incredibly, you know, and even Brett when he was doing Epitaph, like independent wise, they're just smart people. You know what I mean? I would never ever be able to do what they did or are still doing now. It's pretty amazing. Like I feel like there's a lot of people put their heart into it, but there's something missing, especially now because things are changing, you know, like with digital, and we're still learning that. You know, when Good Riddance got back together, there was no social media. That was one of the things. Like we got back into that, and they're like, you need a Facebook page. And we're like, fuck, really? You know? And I think with
Facebook,
I think with independent labels and stuff, man, how to figure out how to get your all your music on all the different platforms where people know how to do it. It's a lot of work. So I give props to anyone who's trying it. You know what I mean?
So really being part of a label kind of takes that work or heat off of you a little bit, where they kind of help you out with, you know, that promotion.
Sort of, you know, we still do a lot of the work ourselves, you know. Fat Wreck, they have a good team over there, but like part of us is, you know, we've always sort of just been like a DIY band and tried to figure it out and do it the way that we want to do it. But they help us out quite a bit, but we still want to, you know, we all want to learn how it works. You have to, you know, even for our own like social media, like Chuck Platt page. I just want to know, I want to know how it works, you know. It's pretty confusing when someone's like, oh, can you approve them to, you know, have advertising access? You know, I've watched so many documentaries, like so many like how-to videos on YouTube and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? It's crazy.
Oh, dude.
My secondary, I print, but my secondary is digital marketing, and I still don't fucking get it. So I mean, I know where you're at.
Yeah. So it's just anyone who's trying to do a label, like, man, kudos to them. Like, seriously, you know, you would do it because you love the music and stuff, but like just trying to grow it more than, you know, just selling like 500 7-inches, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's really hard, I think. And I have no idea the key to that success, but I'm stoked that people do it. I wish I could do it, but I don't have the time.
I mean, as we're kind of getting to the end of the list of questions we have here, I have to ask because, you know, and Chef, plug your ears because this is going to go in a different direction for you. But I'm the vegan in the group, and I know you guys have always kind of, you know, a lot of work with PETA and animal rights organizations, and Russ being a vegan. And I think, are you still vegetarian or?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. With you and Luke being
since high school, I listened to Subhuman's lyrics, and I was just like, fuck yeah. And all the peace punker dudes were all, yeah, we're all vegetarian. And I was like, fuck yeah. So yeah, since the mid 80s.
It's a hard road.
Let me say, Dick Lucas was our second episode.
Yeah,
on Rules of the Pit.
Dick was awesome. Yeah, he was great.
And I still have yet to make his version of fish and chips using halloumi instead of fish, but I haven't forgotten.
No, but what was your question about?
No, I was just checking in on it. I mean, seeing if you guys still follow the diet, and if it's hard on the road, you know, being out there doing.
No, it's fucking it's way easier.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Like when we first started touring, there was nothing. We had to find the like bullshit, like whatever random health food store that you walk in, it smells like vitamins, and you go to the back and they might have like a carob shake or a piece of tofu that's been marinated, and you're like, oh, this is the best thing ever. No, it was incredibly hard back then. There were certain countries that you would go to, like Switzerland, that was sort of like ahead of the game as far as like meat substitutes go. You know, like we would like question, like, are you, that was the first place, or like, are you sure? Like, do you understand? Like, this is not meat. And they're like, no. And they bring us the package and they would like show us what the words are. And we're like, holy shit, that's like the first time on tour in Switzerland where it's like, bing, Italy, totally easy. But if you get to like Spain and Germany,
Nothing.
you're munching on salads, homeboy.
I know a lot of this.
That's the way, but it's way easy now. You know, you have your Happy Cow app on your phone, or for me, yeah, a lot of times I'll go through that, or it's one of the things I love about touring is just going to random spots. I loved it when I worked at Giro as well, because I would travel quite a bit. And if I was in a town by myself, I would look up vegetarian spots and just go to them, hang out, eat, check it out.
That's great.
Yeah.
I do the same.
I love breakfast.
I'm a breakfast anytime. I can eat it for dinner, lunch. Hey, it doesn't matter.
I love breakfast.
I have chickens that supply eggs for me, so I'm kind of liking that.
Well, who's that? What's up, dude?
My chef over there.
Who is that? He left.
My chef subordinate there. No?
Scared. But no, yeah. If anyone points me in the direction of a good tofu scramble or something, I'll be your best friend.
Awesome. Awesome.
Where do you cross the line with the vegetarianism? Like, is there like you'll eat cheese, but or not drink milk? I mean, like, where's that line for you?
I don't. For me right now, I haven't eaten any meat since 1984.
Wow.
Wow.
I was vegan for 13 years. I had to stop being vegan because I found myself in positions where I was traveling a lot for my job, and I dealt with like Tour de France riders and stuff. Like, so it went from BMX, and then it went to like Giro, snowboard and ski, and going to the X Games and all this shit. And I kept moving up to where I reached the top, and I was dealing with a lot of the Tour de France riders, and they all eat like steak and potatoes, but it came to a point where I was in the middle of like the French Alps for a week straight, and I couldn't find anything to eat. Zero. And it got harder and harder. And sometimes I would eat things, and in my mind I'm like, God, I wonder if that pasta had egg in it. I have no idea. I didn't ask. So at home, I would say I eat 95% vegan, whole foods, just like plant-based whole foods at home. And I try to do the same on the road, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So for me, I don't like to like claim anything for myself. Like, are you this or are you that? No, dude.
You kind of aim for this, but you're not gonna like
Starve.
beat yourself up, and you're not gonna starve yourself.
Yeah.
If
whatever is best for my body. I know what kind of food makes me feel good, right? If I eat a lunch, I can have a handful of almonds and a big jug of water and like maybe a piece of tofu or something. That's the best thing ever. I'm not a big fan of all these new like bullshit. Sorry, some people like it. I should say that. I'm not a fan of like all the like Beyond and Impossible, like
Beyond Meat.
I've tasted it. I think I've tasted both of them. I think Impossible is better than Beyond, but honestly, it gave me the worst farts in the world. Honestly, I was farting like crazy.
So you're gonna have to go back to the blasting room and lay out Bill for us.
Dude,
Yes.
Bill can't smell.
Yeah.
Bill can't smell. He'll
Do
never
it.
know.
You don't even know.
Some
Do
gut
it.
load on some Beyond.
I'll tell you that Bill and I have got some good fart offs.
Yeah, but like Milo told us, Bill can't even smell it anymore. So it's no fun anymore.
Well, what about if you can see it?
That's true.
Oh,
Beyond will definitely help you with that.
There should be a food additives that creates the cloud. I would love that. I would actually use that.
There's one thing about Good Riddance and Chuck Platt. Years ago, I got these two DVDs from a buddy of mine. They are punk rock show. They've got fucking Pennywise, fucking Authority Zero, Face, everyone on them. What I remember the most about these fucking DVDs, they're 2001, 2002, is there is a clip of you streaking your fucking naked ass across the fucking screen, and it's like, yep, there goes Chuck. Like, do you remember doing that? Do you remember these fucking things?
It's one of those things where if that was in Europe with No Effects and the Vandals.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I remember, I think it was in Copenhagen, but like you play your show, you go after, there might be showers backstage. I just always thought it'd be funny just to like take the shower and then just come out and like walk out like you're going to the show and like, Stupid shit just to make myself laugh. Others laughed as well, but I didn't. Yeah, when we did the Olympics and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Olympics. That's what it was.
Yeah.
What it was.
You know the funny thing about that? It's always guys talking to me about that, never girls.
Well, dude, I just found it funny as fuck. Like I remember watching it for the first time, and you're like streaking across the screen, and I'm like, holy fuck,
Yeah,
that's fucking Chuck.
I'll do it in London if you want.
Do it.
Trev, you better be live. You better be live at that point.
Dude,
if you guys can play, if you guys could do a cover of London Dungeon and you come running out with your bass,
Oh,
just butt naked.
well, like a devil out.
There you go. Just draw it
yes,
on.
Chuck, I will go buy a ticket tonight if you will fucking stream that show. No, definitely one of like the most memorable fucking Chuck moments in my life. Yep.
But hey, just what? So you got your tour coming up, kicking off with May 13th in New York City, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
What was the why start in Brooklyn?
I don't know.
It's just it's scheduled. We're going. I don't know.
You try to hit like Brooklyn and one other like major spot on that Friday and Saturday night.
Right.
And then like we're playing Pooza Fest as like the last show. So it's like, okay, start in Brooklyn and, you know, do Jersey, or there's a lot of bands touring right now. You know what I mean? So you got to just like figure out where you're going to go. But our booking agent, Margie, she is great at doing this, and she's aware of everything else that's going on. So starting in Brooklyn, going to Jersey, and then sort of, you know, I told her we've done so many East Coast tours where you like sort of hit the same cities all the time.
Yeah.
So since we were going north, I was like, let's try to play some places that we haven't played in a long time. So
Canada.
Well, it's been we were in London like 5 years ago or so, or
Oh, that's a pretty long fucking time,
I know
Chuck.
we have COVID and all this shit. So,
Right?
so like Detroit and that show, there's a show in Kentucky, I believe, and another part of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, which we haven't played in years. So just to play those in Chicago, we're sort of excited about. Yeah. And then Canada is always ripping for us.
Right?
We love that place.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But
Unfortunately,
Rum Runners is cool too. Call the Office is just old school, you know?
like 15 on. That's
Yeah.
where I was. That was
That's
my
rad.
so yeah, last time I saw you guys was Call the Office. And unfortunately, since then, Tony's sold. It's pretty much done.
Oh,
so
wow.
didn't even realize you guys were coming to London Music Hall. So
You're fired, dude.
I know.
So
I'm fucking fired. Fucking
Yeah.
I will be there. I will be there.
That London's always been great. Toronto's rad as well. We have a lot of friends there now, and Montreal is like a special spot for us. So I met my wife in Montreal
Really?
at the first Good Riddance show in Montreal. And we're still together 26 years.
Nice.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, being that
Good for you.
you're a punk rock dad like we are, so let's take this question. I don't think we've touched on, but we might as well. How has punk rock kind of helped you in raising a child?
It has and it hasn't, you know. I've taken my kids to a lot of shows, so that they know what that's all about. But a lot of times from the rooms, I just hear like this awful like new hip hop stuff, like not Little Peep, but like, you know, stuff like that. Anything with a little in front of it. No, just God, I can't even think of the bands. It's really bad. But you know, we sort of just let them do what they do and let them grow up and figure things out. like I try to like explain to them, you know, like what I think is best, and they might hear it, but they don't really hear it.
So they're punk rock as well, because you know,
Yeah.
you tell them something. and
I
they still fucking do it.
I guess that's it. You know what I mean? Like,
They
I
are.
guess they love going to the shows and everything else, but like as far as like me bringing that into being a parent, like I can't think of any scenarios at the moment that like punk rock of like has taught them. Maybe it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one a little bit.
Yeah, see, way I grew up where there was a mold that you had to fit in. And
Yeah.
of course, you know, once I got into my late teens, I'm like, fuck the mold. So, you know, kind of went out on my own. So I brought that into my parenting, you know, is where it's like, you know, you don't have to be anything, just, you know, be yourself, you know, do it
Well,
yourself.
I guess
Here's
that's it.
the-
It's sort of I'm like stepping back and letting them do whatever they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you give them some guidelines so they don't kill themselves. But
There
other
are
than
things
that,
I just like look at and I scratch my head and I'm like, oh, and like, but if I think back of when I was their age, oh man, I sort of have it easy, you know?
well, see, yeah, but see, you were on video during that time, whereas most of us weren't.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I found out yet.
Yeah, we got the streaking, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we got what we call our lightning round, but feel free to answer as best you can. So Trevor, if you want to kick off our last 3 questions.
All right. Chuck, thank you once again for your time. Really
Yeah, no worries.
appreciate it, dude. Huge fan. So, what band, maybe a couple of bands, if there's a couple of one's fine. What band in the past couple of years has really kind of maybe caught your attention? And could be an older band where you're just like, holy shit, these guys are killing it these days. Like, you know,
It's such a hard question.
right?
I try to think about bands that we have played with, but we haven't played shows in so long, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, that's fucking really hard.
Like myself, like I think about that and I'm like, well, fuck. Oh,
Okay, well,
shit.
there's bands,
Well,
they might not do, there's a band that like the first band I thought of that
Yeah.
might not, they have a great crowd. They're not like, they're an older band, but they have a
Cool.
great crowd, but I'm always am surprised they're not bigger than they are now. And it's the Adolescents.
Yes. Yes. Fucking love
Fuck,
the
man.
Adolescents.
You see them live and you're just like, fuck, they're so good. And you know, and then you put them on the same pedestal, you know, you put them up there. I wish they could be up there with like Descendants and Bad Religion, like sort of those older bands, you know. They're just a little bit smaller, but they're still good shows.
Yeah.
Right? But I couldn't,
Exactly.
you know, I just think of Adolescents because I just recently saw them and I'm like, fuck, they're so good. If it's like newer bands, smaller bands that are up and coming, I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now. I'm so sorry.
Well, we've had the last 2 years of hiatus because of COVID, so it's kind of like you haven't really been out there playing. So
It's sort of
I
hard.
know,
You know,
I know.
I try to think of bands like
But put it in this, Chuck,
Yeah, I
put it
don't
in this
know.
light. Put it in this
I
light.
don't
Who
know.
should we have on here? Who should be next?
Adolescents.
Okay,
There you go.
that's a good answer. Then.
There you go.
Okay, so here's my
Perfect
comment on
answer.
Adolescents though. All right, so in the kitchen, we listen to like Amazon, Echo, whatever, free shit. And whenever Adolescents comes on, it's almost always Amoeba. Okay,
Yeah.
fun song.
Yeah.
Everybody listens. Oh, Amoeba.
Yeah.
I had one guy one time said, is he saying Kali Ma? And so now I associate that song with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
I'll see you in hell.
Damn it, chef. Now I'm going to sing it that way every time.
Now I'm going to hear it that way.
Yeah, I know. That's all I'm gonna-
Well, on to the next question. What cause or societal issue means the most to you? And it could be any one particular, but it's what means to you. 'Cause there's all kinds of issues out there that things can, but what is something that you focus on personally that maybe you like to get out some,
For me personally,
personally.
God,
It doesn't have to be the standard, it could be anything. It could be somebody local.
you guys made the hardest questions. last.
Right?
Oh, and
You're welcome, Chuck.
I really would have to think about it. I would say something and I know I'm going to come back and watch this and be like, fuck, what a moron. I'll pass on it.
All right.
Fair enough.
Totally cool.
Sorry,
Totally
Florida.
So I'll hit you with the last one. Hopefully this one's going to be a little bit easier. Obviously our name is Rules of the Pit, and it's based on the first rule of the pit. If someone falls, you pick them up. If you could add your rule of the pit, what would that rule be?
Other than picking them up.
Other than picking them up.
like a metaphor for life.
Okay. Rule of the pit. Can it be with stage divers?
Can be whatever
Yeah.
you want. It could have nothing to
Don't be
do with
on
Holy.
stage for fucking 30 seconds playing air guitar with the band.
Security.
Oh yeah,
Because you're diving into the pit, right?
right.
Get up, turn around, and be like, "What's up?" and just dive in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it used to be the protocol, you know. It used to be you got there, you did a little dance, and you jumped out again.
Exactly.
You could do a little bit of a dance, but if you're over like 5 seconds, you're fucking fired.
Yeah.
The fucking dance
Yeah.
move is
Get
jump
the
off the
fuck off.
stage.
Get the fuck
Yeah.
Get
off.
on, jump off. If you fall to the ground, then stand up. And if you get past to the back, make
Pick
your way
them
back
up.
up front,
Yeah.
get on stage, jump off again.
So here's
it.
one thing that I would say about if you're in the pit. What's the rules of the pit? Is noticing your surroundings as well. Knowing the right time to pit. You know what I mean? If you're at a Slayer show, people are there to fucking pit. If you're hanging out watching Mr. T Experience play, not everyone wants to pit. So you got to read the room.
Read the room.
I think that would be my biggest advice, reading the room.
That is a
That's
perfect
perfect.
rule.
Great piece.
That's nothing wrong with
Perfect
that.
rule.
So
That was I like that answer.
Good answer.
because
Read the
we've
fucking
all
room.
been to shows and you go in the front and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, bam! And you're like, fuck, are you kidding me? And it's two dudes just like, woo, you know.
Yeah.
That's not a good time pit.
Some people, especially when you get up front, you want to you're there because you want to enjoy what's going on here. You know.
Yeah.
That
It
was
just depends on the show, man. You know the bands that like get them wound up and want a big pit and stuff, but there's bands that just don't want that, you know?
Yeah, that was last month for me. We did the goddamn gallows, and I swear there were fights, and it was maybe 150 people at Alex's bar in Long Beach, and so it's a tiny little space, and there's 2 or 3 dudes just in there throwing arms at people that are like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And it's just
Yeah.
not cool.
And their answer was, it's a punk show.
Yeah, but I got my battle vest on.
Yeah.
Wait, you live in Long Beach?
I'm in Huntington Beach. I'm just south. of
Oh, okay.
But I
I
mean-
that's right. I grew up in Long Beach.
all the good actions in Long Beach. So
Yeah.
no, I have a close friend that's up in Long Beach, and he plays Todd Congelier's Sardine all the time in San Pedro. So we're up cruising San Pedro, Long Beach all the time.
Wait, Todd from where?
From Todd from FYP,
Fuck.
Toys That Kill.
I was just with Todd.
Were you really?
Yeah, I went to the Bikini Kill show with my wife down at Pappy and Harriet's, and Todd
Yep.
was there.
I saw the flyer for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Todd's a great dude. We're up
Love
there
that
hanging with
guy.
him all the
I
time.
hadn't seen him in probably, I want to say 20 years. And he walked by and he just looked at me and I just go, hi. He's like, oh my God.
Well, if you happen to across him again, we're back and forth with him. We're trying to get him on here too. He's talking to us, but he's scheduling. So
Yeah. He's
So
a-
how
show.
was that Bikini Kill show? They're coming around here end of next
They
month.
were-
Really
they were pretty damn good.
still ripping it.
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
it's awesome.
They
Yeah.
go off stage and you had to chant Bikini Kill for like 5 minutes before they came back out and played Rebel Girl.
No, no. I did try to start a pit though, but I'm playing.
Check
Well,
it out.
they were great.
Come on.
Well, Chuck, thank you for your time tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a fucking blast. You are one funny dude.
Isn't that weird when I do that?
It's reminiscent of a certain interview I did once before.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's the promo image I'm using for the reel.
God damn.
You gotta give us your country album look, where
Yeah.
you're sitting there with your acoustic and you're just looking off thoughtfully off into
Okay,
the
right.
sky.
Let me go get it. Hold on a second.
Yes. How do I do? Screen
Oh,
share?
God, there it is.
Oh, yeah, motherfucker.
Rules of the pitch. I'm playing. That's all I got.
That's nice.
Seriously
guys.
though. Cheers, and we'll see you in fucking London, okay?
Sounds good, eh?
All right.
Thank you, Chuck.
Hey guys, bye.
All right, Chuck, thank you.
I'm running